My name is Chet Zaborowski. I was a Sergeant E5 in the United States Army Special Forces. 26 November 1970. It was a mission that was supposed to last 10 days. It lasted only 3.5. We had made contact with the enemy 7 different times. Spent the last 17 hours out of ammunition, escaping and evading the enemy. And this was one of those missions that I called a defining moment in my life that I thought, well, Ski, you're not coming out of this one alive. You're going to die here in the jungles of Vietnam, or I'm sorry, in the jungles of Laos. So once you can accept that, you accept it. Okay, I'm going to die. Now get back to work. I have a job to do. Take care of the wounded, attack the enemy, fight the enemy. These are the things that we had to do. And it's silly to say I did worry about dying, but once you can accept the fact that, okay, you're dead, now get to work, things were a little bit easier. And that was one of those missions. I mean, when you run into odds of 18-1 against you in the enemy's backyard and you can't get extracted and you're out of ammunition, what's next? The worst you are definitely thinking. We lost 7 Montagnards that were KIA. We lost 1 American KIA. And I'm going to have to do the math. I believe there were approximately 27 Montagnards that were wounded, and all of the Americans were wounded and or killed in action. I was wounded once in the shoulder from shrapnel when I was treating my fellow comrade who had been wounded in the head. And we were engaged with the enemy. The enemy was trying to outflank us. We were actually pinned down by them. And he was hit in the head. When I came over, tried to patch him up as best as I could. The enemy is still trying to attack our flank, so you put away the medical supplies and attack the enemy or shoot the enemy first, and then get back to treating Clyde Conkin. When I got wounded, the first thing that went through my mind was, damn, I'm not going to be able to do my job. And then I realized, okay, I'm bleeding, but it's not a serious wound. Clyde's wound is much worse. He's shot through the head. And I'm thinking, I got to work on him. And this goes back to our training. Our training was very realistic and oriented to the point that you are there as a Special Forces medic, as a Green Beret medic, to save lives. And that was #1 priority. So, you fall back in your training. A lot of people, I've done this presentation now for many, many years, and a lot of people say, well, how do you survive being outnumbered 18-1? Well, you survive by going back through your training. If your training is good enough, it gives you a much better chance to survive when you actually come against those situations in combat. I had been knocked down a couple of times by rocket blasts, but never to the point where I really couldn't do anything. I wasn't wounded with those rocket blasts, other than the one that I got in the shoulder. And like I said, I got that when I was actually treating another wounded soldier. I was very fortunate. I was just recently awarded, October 25th of 2012, I was recently awarded the Bronze Star for Valor, which now was my 2nd Bronze Star. But that was for this mission that I was on in November of 1970, 26 November 1970.
The second teammate that Sergeant Zebron is going to be decorating is Chester C. Zaborowski, Sergeant, Bronze Star Medal with V, for gallantry in action while engaging in military operations involving conflict with an armed and hostile force in the country of Laos. Sergeant Zaborowski distinguished himself by exceptionally valorous actions On 25 through 29 November 1970, while serving as a squad leader in Special Forces medic to a MAXOG exploitation force on a mission deep within enemy-controlled territory. On the first day of his mission, Sergeant Zaborowski reacted immediately to lead his team on an assault on the enemy's defenses. The devastating assault was so devastating was the assault that the foe broke contact and fled in confusion. When his team became heavily engaged with a numerically superior force and with total disregard for his personal safety, Sergeant Zaborowski not only courageously fought the aggressors, but rendered expert medical treatment to the wounded. Despite being wounded, Sergeant Zaborowski continued to expose himself to devastating enemy small arms and B-40 rocket fire, while valiantly continuing to fight the large enemy hostile force that was attacking from multiple directions, while personally returning accurate enemy fire. The attackers attempted to overrun the team's hasty defensive perimeter, and Sergeant Zaborowski's accurate fire greatly assisted in repelling the attack. Sergeant Zaborowski's bravery, courage, and expert medical skills under fire saved the lives of countless personnel and contributed greatly to repulsing the enemy assault and the team's successful extraction from the area.
That was for this mission that I was on in November of 1970, 26 November 1970, where a hatchet force that I was a squad leader in, of some 35 people, ran into a battalion-sized force of some 600 people, and being vastly outnumbered and suffering some 90% casualties, we managed to survive and complete our mission. The mission lasted 3.5 days. But the last 17 hours, being out of ammunition and trying to escape from the enemy, actually spending 4 hours in a river in the middle of night, I guess it was around 11 o'clock when we first got into the river, with the enemy just looking for us, shooting guns in the air, shooting flares in the air, carrying lanterns, trying to find us because they realized they've just been in a long firefight, a 2-hour-long firefight. They're probably extremely low on ammunition, and by this time we were down to our last magazines of ammunition, which meant maybe like 20 bullets left. They knew that if they could find us, that they could send all of their soldiers in after us and surely overrun us, capture us, kill us, do whatever they wanted to. But we spent the next 17 hours escaping and evading the enemy until we were able to be extracted the next day by, I think it was 9:30 in the morning. So imagine you're in the enemy's territory, you're out of ammunition, the enemy is chasing you, and you have no way to get extracted. That's the kind of missions that we were in. And that's why we ended up getting the awards that we did, the Bronze Stars. We were put in for the Silver Stars, but somehow or other they were downgraded. And I had mentioned earlier that one of our team leader, our 1-0, Ed Zebron, was put in for the Medal of Honor, our nation's highest award. 35 years after the fact, on November 11th, 2005, he was finally awarded something, and that was a DSC, a Distinguished Service Cross. That's our nation's second highest award. They are still trying to put together all the packages and stuff to get him his Medal of Honor. And to say that I fought with a person that was nominated for the Medal of Honor is something special.